Hello, welcome back to A Course in Miracles, to the famous, the one, the only, the infamous, maybe, huh? The infamous workbook for students. Oh yeah, yeah. And this is fun, and I'm laughing because of that comment I just made. It occurred to me to make it infamous, right? And why would we consider something so beautiful and so profound as infamous? Well, the ego is on the run. By now, right, we're on lesson 185 today. If you have stayed with this for at least 185 days, maybe more, then your ego is no longer going to even pretend that it's your friend, right? It wants to pretend that it's your buddy and whisper in your ear all nice and soft. But after 185 days of this, not so much. Not so much. It's on the run. And that's the way it should be. Now, what's probably coming up and what a lot of people experience is some real emotional upset, some turmoil, possibly even. This is quite natural. It's quite natural and it's beautiful. It's beautiful. Despite the possible short-term pain, because it's the ego that is on the run here. Who you really are, who we all are, is beginning to shine through. Even if it's just a few rays of light breaking through a thick wall of cloud, to use a visual analogy like that, even if it's just a little bit, there's something going on inside you that has you questioning all illusions. And that's perfect. It's beautiful. And I just want to say, before we launch into lesson 185, is that you're exactly where you're meant to be. If you're not experiencing very much upset, that's absolutely fine. Everyone's path is going to look a little bit different. And it's just the form of your experience that may differ from someone else's. It's just the appearance. The actual meaning of what's going on, the actual shifting, the actual change, which of course is not a change at all, the unveiling is exactly the same. It takes different forms. Just as each of us is the Son of God appearing in different forms. I'm appearing as this thing that we human beings call a man in this place that we human beings call Phoenix, Arizona. What does that all ultimately mean? If you're questioning it, excellent. Because each of us should be. It's not the easiest thing in the world to take these ideas and apply them consistently, is it? It's not. It's not the easiest thing in the world, because A Course in Miracles is very simple. It's also quite radical. The Holy Spirit and Jesus simply cut right to the chase. And isn't that what you want, really? With all of the spiritual paths out there and programs, webinars, seminars that pass for spiritual paths, that call themselves spiritual paths, there's a lot out there in the marketplace. I'm recording this in 2021. There's a lot out there in the marketplace. If you're watching this years from now, there's going to be even more, right, in the marketplace. Isn't it refreshing and isn't it a blessing to have encountered something that speaks to you and cuts right to the chase? Isn't that good? Isn't that exciting? Just cut right to the chase, just slice right through it. That's what we want. It's what each of us wants, which lends us perfectly into lesson 185, which is, I want the peace of God. Oh yeah, I want the peace of God. What else do I want? What would I want? Well, we appear in the world to want many things, don't we? We want $5,000 extra a month income. We want $1 million. We want a hot, sexy, romantic partner. We want a great bottle of wine with dinner tonight. We want a new boat. And we want a new kitchen counter. Yeah, granite, please. We want this, we want that. We want more followers on Facebook. Then we're upset at the lack of connection with our followers on Facebook. So we want more Instagram followers. We always want something, something, something. How about the peace of God? That's what we all really are seeking. We seek them in the wrong place, obviously, don't we? We seek them in the boat, in the hot, sexy, romantic partner, in a really, really nice, possibly expensive bottle of wine for dinner tonight. We seek them outside of ourselves because that's where we're conditioned to believe that happiness lies. In fact, it doesn't lie in any of those things. It's internal. It's an inside job. And when this really hits home for us, it is liberating, isn't it? It is liberating. It's exciting. It's exciting. It should be energizing and create exuberance and passion and joy in you because we're accepting truth. We're accepting the truth of who we really are rather than trying to pretend we're someone else and something else. Lesson 185 just cuts right to the chase. I want the peace of God. The commentary starts off saying to say these words is nothing. Yeah, there you go. Period, point blank, right? To say these words is nothing. To mean them, and I mean really, really, truly, deeply mean them, viscerally, from your gut, from your heart, from everything that you have, mean them, yeah, is everything. Talk is cheap. Many people say they want the peace of God, yet when it comes right down to it, they don't. Or they do, but they're not ready to acknowledge that that's all they really want. Because, as we're told here in the workbook, to say these words and mean them is to give up all illusions. And as we've seen by now, multiple times here in the workbook, it's total. Our minds cannot adhere to two thought systems. So therefore, in every moment of every day, in the present moment, we have a choice between the thought system of the ego and the thought system of the Holy Spirit, which this course puts forth for our study and practice, especially for the practice, right? The practical application. Because it's one thing to understand the words and another thing to understand the meaning. Now, ultimately, we find that it is critical that we do both, but we cannot dissociate the words from the meaning. That's something that the Buddha said in his instruction to his students. We cannot dissociate the words from the meaning. Otherwise, all we have are words, which, as we see, are symbols. So talk is quite literally cheap. It's nothing, in fact. One must mean it. And it's renouncing all dreams. And I don't mean dreams as in, I dream to have this yacht. I dream to make X amount of money. I dream to have a hot, sexy, romantic partner that I'm actually deeply connected to, and it's more than just a weekend in the hay, for example. I don't mean those kind of dreams. We're renouncing all dreams. We're talking universal spirituality and ultimate truth here. This is A Course in Miracles, after all. To mean that we want the peace of God is to side completely with God, to recognize that nothing real can be threatened, nothing unreal exists, and to simply leave the unreal Just leave it where it is. We don't have to adopt an attitude of vanquishing and conquest and opposition. Our world shows us enough vanquishing, doesn't it? And conquest and opposition. And to stand in the ultimate authority with full confidence, clarity, and certainty means we just bring our illusions to truth. This is bringing the illusions to truth, is deciding and meaning that you want the peace of God. Therefore, it's renouncing all illusion. So whether you use the word illusion or dreams does not make any difference. Again, words are symbols. I'm using them to communicate with you. Right. Jesus is using them to communicate with us. Why? That's how we communicate with each other in large part. Yeah, it's what we understand in the condition that we find ourselves in. So we use symbols. What do we do here in A Course in Miracles? Well, we give them to the Holy Spirit. Everything, all of our fear, all of our illusions, this is bringing illusions to the truth, is giving all of your fears, including the ones that are deep down, that you have hidden away. Oh yeah, those too, all of them. It's an all or nothing proposition, because our minds cannot adhere to both the thought system of the Holy Spirit and the ego. Now, we find ourselves spending lots of time on the way thinking that we can, right? We like to cherish certain special forms of love and special forms of hatred in our minds here in the world. We want to love and forgive these people, but these guys, the opposition political party, for example, oh no, not them, never. Yet in doing that, if that's what we're really doing, then we're keeping the thought system of the ego. We let it go totally. That is why so many people say, I want the peace of God. Oh yeah. I want the peace of God, but they don't mean it. So when we really mean it, we let go of all dreams. Now, what happens when you really mean it? Well, to put it in a way that we'd all understand, it's a game changer. It's a game changer. It fundamentally alters your entire experience. That is what you want, yes. So in practicing lesson 185 today, I want the peace of God, we sit with this. And this is what we contemplate, a possible meditation for you. I mean, it can take any number of different forms, of course, because at this point in the workbook, Jesus has become more general in the suggestions for our daily practice period. Now, you'll remember back in the workbook, there were some calls for practicing every hour on the hour, for example, or every 15 minutes in certain formats. Now, our minds require that kind of training at first because they're all over the map. And even on the path, you can sit a meditation and find yourself wildly distracted. Happens to me all the time. In fact, it happened to me this morning. It just kind of happens that way. But with practice, with training, if you prefer, we learn to recognize that and bring our minds back to the focus of the meditation. So a possible way to handle this on any given day here in the workbook is when you notice yourself distracted, bring your mind back to the central idea for the day. I want the peace of God. If this means repeating this to yourself as you sit quietly, let it mean that. The form the practice takes is up to you. What matters is that you do it, and we reach for and we create the causes and conditions for ourselves to truly mean that we want the peace of God, because implicit in that statement is, I want the peace of God and nothing else. Just as here in course practice and philosophy, we say, God is, and then we leave it at that. What's implicit there is that nothing else is. Nothing real can be threatened. Nothing unreal exists. Herein lies the peace of God. And I want the peace of God. Do you?